23 series week 1. My name is Zoe and I have been shipped from overseas to be your host, analyst, and caster all in one for today's festivities. Those festivities, of course, are going to be starting out with our quarterfinals, then semifinals, and obviously the grand finals. Now, there is a prize pool on the line, but it's a 4-week event. So they're just trying to vie for those first week points in order to get on to the leaderboards. With that, though, we have our 2 teams on standby for our first matchup of the day, and it is going to be Uwu Kittens 1 and Dancers. With that, I believe we're double checking if our players are ready, and we are going to be jumping into our best of 1 series on Ascent. Now, I mean, this is going to be a little bit interesting because Ascent obviously isn't the most exciting map in terms of usually having set mirror comps and all these kind of interesting things that don't tend to happen. So it'll be interesting to see, because it is a smaller event, if they stick to the standard meta or if we'll see some funny business here. I mean, I always enjoy the Killjoy, but I feel like if we can get some, spiciness with some Deadlock, or anything new to the scene, that would be pretty cool. I do have some results, though, from the matchups before that allowed them to get this far. So the first matchup, which was Monarch Blade versus Uwu Kittens took it 13-7 in order to gain their spot here, while Dancers beat Virgin 2 13-8 to secure their spot. So both of these teams were about equally dominant coming into the quarterfinals. So as we jump into Agent Select, let's see if that dominance can continue. My eyes specifically are going to be on at least for these teams is going to be probably Shanling and Dinges, just because they were those top frags, eavesdropping 20 plus kills in their last matchup. So I think that's where my eyes are going to go. But as these agents lock in, it does look like on the left side, they are going with that standard Ascent comp, versus on the opposing side, instead of opting for that double information initiator, they have decided to use the breach. Which, I mean, if they were that aggressive on a Viper on their last map, I cannot wait to see the kind of dynamic they'll bring with that utility, that pressure, that the breach fault line, that all of that utility can bring to this map. Other than that, though, we also have a double duelist, so there's no Sentinel on their side. It looks like they are going full gun-ho aggression with Femi being on a raise. And I don't know about this. I feel like, yes, they're starting out on attack, so that does mean they'll be able to set that momentum pretty early on. My question will be when they swap sides, will that same dominance, will that same momentum continue onwards just as well as before? We're getting into the game, though, ready to jump into the action. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty split up approach coming out of the defenders, while the opposing side for the attackers for Uwu Kittens is in fact headed towards A side with a spike, with maybe some mid pressure or a B side lurk coming through. All right. And obviously, looking at the buys, looks like we're going to have pretty much those, what you expect, the duelist with the deagle facts there on the attackers on Uwu Kitten's side versus on the defender side. You also have the Jet mirroring that kit. What's interesting to me here, though, is the Raze has opted for a more of a utility buy with the classic light shield. So there's that mid pressure finally coming through. Dark cover from both out just to establish that mid presence while trying to stall out the pressure as well. But I think this first confrontation is in fact going to come from Tree, unless they can get the timing right out of main. And there it is, the satchel recomboed as a result, as a reaction here. And they haven't really addressed the person button, and there it is. Spike is down on site, and suddenly it's a 4v2. Not only do they have to recover Spike, but they still have to get the plant. And they're completely divided here. One isolated in hell, one now finally getting to the party here, trying to take the one-on-one, but they are digged straight through that doorway by Ree. And there it is, only losing one player in the chaos. The first round goes in favor of the defenders, goes in favor of Dancers.
Not impossible. I can do it.
So now, going into this next round, obviously, you're going to be forcing up. You have the Bulldog, you have the Marshall, probably going to be playing here towards mid, it would be my hope. It looks like they're going to peek tiles here, try and deny that mid pressure once again. But I feel like this is a lighter buy than you're used to seeing on a bonus. And as I say that, Reed decides to upgrade to the big boy deagle, as I call it. No, they're lying to me, all right? They went for the Bulldog over the Guardian. But either way, there's no dark cover this time on Tree. They are just straight up challenging this Marshall, and so far it's been really successful. The shock dart, the ding, all dropping into such low HP, but they have the support, they have Ree there. They will fall though, and so will the follow-up player. So those weapons now have been collected, and the forces from A main also are coming in. So now, numbers advantage and the site have been given over to Uwu Kittens. They'll be able to get the plant down, but the rotations have come through. It's going to be a 2v3, and the 0 point is out to confirm that 2 are on site, but dark cover as well. How do they start mixing and matching? How do they break up these forces? The answer is a Jenny jump from heaven, and they have isolated every single fight, and Madara is a one-person show, getting all 3 and the defuse. And that is how you start charging up these ultimates, how you advance towards this null command and such. And I mean, I will say that was on the brink of destruction. They almost converted the anti-eco from Uwukins, but either way, no harm, no foul. You now have to bring a few of those guns over, but you are going to see 3 members forced to buy out the next level of weapons. You see, you know, Yijit for speed, you see Aimstar, Mapeasy, they both have decided to go for the Vandal Light Shield, while Ree, on the other hand, is going to stick to their Demon Deagle action that we saw from the first round. On the opposition, now that they have, you know, gotten through their econ buy, they're going to be getting that full rifle, but I think they bought too much utility, so we have 4 people with the light shield. Let's see how that plays out, especially with this first fight happening. It's an over-aggression from Renz that will be punished just as easily. It's a numbers advantage already in favor of the attackers, but what's interesting here is they aren't following through. I think they're expected that there's more members here A main, and they're just waiting out this one way. All in the meanwhile, Fax has somehow found Mapeasy on their lurk over towards Tiles, also punishing that over-aggression. So now, if you are Uwu Kittens, you have so many choices on this map about where to go. The answer, though, is nowhere just yet. They're trying to get even more recon. You can already see Owl Drone confirming 1, but that might just be a distraction here for Ree to get a kill with Deagle, get a gun upgrade, and hopefully get out. That's what we're seeing here. Yijit for speed, trying to deny anything here. Trying to be that distraction so that they don't clear wine. All in the meanwhile, noise has been cut completely while the forces from Tiles rotate over to provide this site tree pinch. And let's see how dancers respond to it, especially when they're down by 2.
30 seconds
There
left.
is the answer. Ree will get, in fact, cleared out, but Yijit for speed is there. Heaven, not good for 1, but 2. So with now the Jet being so low HP, this can easily be turned around with one gunfight. But knowing they have the numbers, we're getting some risky action here. Paid actor fighting in to Heaven, and they will be awarded the kill. So suddenly, less than 10 seconds left. It's all on Madara. 1v2, but the timing is wrong. Even though the flash drive is out, it won't matter. 2-1, they get their first round on the board, and Uwu Kittens didn't even have to plant to secure it. And does look like we might, okay, I was gonna say, there might be a quick pause, and there it is. It's actually a timeout coming out from the attackers. I think they just want to ensure that they can tie things up here, right? They now have the 100 Shuri online, and as well as being a few off from some key ultimates, like, you know, from the shadows that can be used for a quick rotation, a few off maybe even from the Blaze Storm if they want to farm orbs or Fax. And I liked that change that we saw in order for them to get that first round on the board. Instead of collectively hitting a site together really fast out of the gate, they took their time. They were patient. They waited for them to be overly aggressive and punished it. Then the follow-up was they finally then rotated and had that pitch come through on the A site after they had wasted so much utility just to put Ree in that favorable position that fell short. It does look like, though, after this timeout, we possibly will be seeing a tech pause because of a player DC, but that just gives us a little bit more time to break down what we can see out of the defenders as a response. I think there was a good idea to have at least 2 players push out into main, but then you saw there was no real utility layering. There was no real coordination between the players. Yes, the Sova utility enabled Ree, but it probably should have been there to enable the duelist to get a first pick and get out, especially when they had such stable weaponry on the line. On the opposing side, I just don't think they expected Fax to be lurking that far up tile, so the Killjoy was trying to get into that cheeky position in the corner, and that was also punished. So my suggestion there would either be to have, you know, a turret main, which is exactly what they're putting, or, you know, just play your site with your Killjoy utility. You know, that's what the Sentinel is for, and when the opposing doesn't have a Sentinel, the other thing you can do is try to take advantage of the flanks, which, I mean, looks like this is what they might have been trying to do, but when you're a team like Uwe Kittens so far, you've been all over the map, so you need to use the utility that you have from that double info initiator to find these openings and get into them if you're Dancers. I mean, either way, Dancers still in the lead, so not that they're doing anything quite wrong yet, other than that minute over-aggression last round, but, I mean, let's see what they do to fix it. Alright. And we're just taking a scenic tour here around Ascent, seeing how all these players are shaking up to be hanging out. And while, you know, the attackers aren't giving us any real indication as to where they will be playing in the follow-up round, I do like the adjustments that have been made on the defender side. They've had the Sova typically playing over towards A. My guess is the KO will either replace them, or, you know, they might not be as aggressive on it and wait for the attackers to come to them, while the information is instead found mid and B main, so they can establish control, like I said, where there is less of a presence, where they can find that slip, where they can find that opening in the offensive part, where they're kind of tunnel visioned in towards a specific site. Other than that, though, we've analyzed the ultimates on the side of the attackers, but how about the defenders? They are 2 off from the null command, 1 off from their own Hunter's Fury, and 1 off from their own from the shadows. So these could be ultimates coming in for this round, either if they push main and get the orb for the Sova in order to deny the plant on the opposing site, or even if Madara is able to find that opening pick mid where they're hanging out and an orb on the rotate, then they have the null command for the retake, which would shut down Tingis's own Hunter's Fury if they wanted to use it for the post plant. So it'll definitely be interesting to see if any of those come true, but I do think the ultimates definitely need to come out from the attackers if they want this round, because their economy is looking a little dry. You can even see Paid Actor there with the Bulldog, with the Light Shield, and Tingis so far hasn't bought a weapon, but it doesn't look like they can afford one unless Femi is going to go ahead and buy or drop them one in that regard. Does it look like, though, finally, after all my yammering, that the timeout, or sorry, the tech pause will be coming to a quick little close, and we will be jumping back into the action. So let's see if any of my predictions, any of my ultimate usage will in fact come true. But what's interesting here is look at the reposition from the Sova. It looks like it's going to be a double push, maybe even a triple push out in to mid here, establishing that control dominantly, but it's a 1-for-1 trade, and we are even again at 4-4. Ree with the fake, with the fake TP out, and it's exactly that, the shrouded step, but they switched their gun, no reload in sight. So Fax will in fact commandeer that space, trying to cross over with the Cloudburst. Somehow the shots don't connect, and suddenly that mid control was stripped away and converted into A pressure. The plant will come through. Fax now in the off angle, but it's sprayed down, protected by the wall bang, and suddenly numbers are back 1-1, 3-on-3, and I mean, look at that though. You can already see on the defender side, they're trying to come in all from heaven, but you have so many people playing off site here for the defenders. You have 1 tree, 1 hell, and so far the Killjoy is doing all the work. Finally, the crossfire comes in, but Paid Actor has used this opportunity to reverse the map. Here now, having taken the one-on-one, will find it, but it's not planted for them. Even if they win against the Killjoy, the Paranoia comes in too late, and it's a 3rd round on the board for our defenders on the Brown for Gidget for speed. And, ooh, I mean, a solid attempt, I would say. Especially an early start out of the gate there, establishing that mid control, establishing that dominance on the A side, but then the retake came through just too powerful on the side of Dancers, and they pull ahead even further here. My predictions were all wrong. No ultimates used from either side, but the ultimates I did point out last round have all come true in terms of now being online, being on the table, being choices for an execution or a retake. And it looks like they are trying to finally explore the B site on the side of the attackers, hoping that's the answer to their prayers, but they are on an econ round, and it looks like Renz has in fact realized that somebody pushed up to cap from tile. The alarm bot will trigger hopefully a rotation here or a response from these opposition, but they're not really given any time over for them to respect it. They are trying to storm quite literally, and they are sandwiched between that marketplace and that site. And although they're fighting in the smoke, the better weapons doing their jobs. And Dancers will string together at 4th while only losing 1 person. So not a great econ round out from the Kittens, but I mean, it is, like we said, it's an eco, so you're not expected to win the round unless, you know, someone pulls out some madman shots. But now, we're back to rifles on rifles. Minus, I was gonna say, minus Madara, who hasn't bought a weapon yet, but I think hopefully they'll get a buy from a teammate. Or we might even see Renz pop Bladestorm. Who knows at this point? Either way, though, 4-1. We jump into the next round, where Spike is headed towards the A site, and it does look like, once again, this Jet is solo peeking, solo fighting off of this one-way. And finally, it does come up in their favor. All in the meanwhile, though, this aggression has kind of distracted them from the fact that tree control has been firmly established here. And looks like they're about to execute into it, and that is the case. Re1, in fact, gonna go nuclear for 2, completely holding tree all on their lonesome until Renz comes in with the rotation, and the last one is also going to be a flawless from you did for speed Sova on Sova violence to secure a 5th. And I'm not gonna lie, if you're Dancers, this is the half you were supposed to be dominant in. The double duelist, the breach, and so far 5-1. I am scared for how this is gonna work for them on the defense without a sentinel. Are they gonna play even more aggro than their attack? Are they gonna flip the script in that regard? It'll definitely be interesting, but now this round, they have one of the most aggressive ultimates on the game. They have that Rolling Thunder, which looks like they are going to take right into this double peek here, B main. Let's see if it comes out of the gate, or if it's just going to be the fault line to clear some space. There it is. Fault line. Flash drive. Both really not coming up with any picks for either side. I did like the fragment, though. It did kind of stall out that early aggression, especially from the Bladestorm that's online. But now, we've seen it before. They cut all noise, they wait. And this time, it's not going to really work out. Renz is receptive of it here in mid, and now even Use It for Speed has rotated over. They are completely dominating the space, and the Marshal won't be able to find anything. And it is a flawless back-to-back here for Dancers, and they haven't even had to use an ultimate for it. And they have secured at least a tied half here, but I think they're going to go for even more here. They want that lead. They want that advantage going into their attacker half. And, I mean, they haven't used any ultimates, so this is the time, I would say, to do it. Versus on the opposition, Uwu Kittens 1 will have to string together 5 if they just want to tie things up. And Bladestorm devastatingly didn't find much last round. I think that's just because people got isolated in mid, but maybe the other ultimates on the table can shed some light on the situation. Once again, though, early aggression into mid, trying to establish that control, trying to strip it away from the defenders so they can't rotate as fluidly. And this time, though, no real response. They're playing more reserved on the side of Dancers. They're not really aggressing and waiting instead for the attackers to come to them, which, as I said, will be there to punish them. They've held down tree before. They're doing it again. A second. They are pinged out, though, by the Apple Drone and forced to try to step out of the situation. And the shock dart is there to finish them up. Little body block action. But in the wake of all the chaos, a quick rotation out, and Madara is prepared for it. Alarm bot broken, sprays coming through, and although they are 1 down, now it's 2. And it'll be a 4-on-2, 4-on-1, and there it is, insult to injury. They didn't even need it, but the Hunter Fury comes out to steal the kill from Renz and establish a 7th round on the board, establish that definite lead going into the next half. All right, we'll take a chance to breathe here, just like the players are likely doing. 7-1, so many ultimates on the board to work with. And the economy situation now for Uwu Kittens 1 is anything but cute. We have, you know, trying to force together something, the Bulldog being the most aggressive weapon they have on Shanling, while the rest are opting for a Spectre, a Stinger, 2 Deagles. And they definitely are now abandoning their attempts at mid-control. But look, even this has been red. You can see slowly creeping up Cat, slowly creeping up into flank is Renz. And there's no Killjoy utility there, so they're going to run right into them. It's a 1-for-1 trade at least, though, so the weapon upgrade will come through. And now, rotations once again.
Right here.
Towards mid, towards where their alarm bot is waiting, and towards where the Odin is unknowingly lurking. Will they clear the corner? The answer is yes, but not without Tin just being so low on HP. And now Paid Actor, who wanted to teleport over, will be able to get them from the shadows off, but they are so receptive of it. So, in fact, that they're just going to trade the Omen ultimate 1-for-1 and left with the weight of the shoulders on their hand is Sean Lang. They get one, but they know where the plant is. They know where the player is. They even know what weapon they have. Full HP and the null command, not wanting that rolling thunder to come out, and that is the close that you need. Madara has done it before with the 1v3 essentially, and they did it again. 8-1, establishing the dominance, recollecting the expensive gun, the Odin, and I mean, even when you think that they're down and out, like from last minute, we're just seeing dancers come back time and time again. We need to see this comeback though now, I would say, from the opposition, from Uwu Kittens 1. And finally though, they are back to guns. So that was a save run coming out. And I want to praise them for that, right? They punished that kind of bad timing from Renz on the flank up Cat. And they punished the over rotation so that Killjoy was the only one on B. And they got a lot of weapons off of them. But like I said, it's 8-1, you need to start getting rounds on the board. This is exactly what they're trying to do. Bringing the aggression to the A site. Showstopper will find one, and the rest of the team will come flooding in. But so does the Sova utility. Doesn't quite connect, but they're still not relinquishing any pressure on this A site. It's going to be a 5v4 situation. And they do have those two powerful post-plant ultimates. So let's see if Madara's Odin Spray will reign victorious, or if the lockdown will force them all off site. The answer is no. Here comes Thunderstration and I. But once again, it's these hero plays coming out from Uwu Kittens. AM Star Mapeasy this time being that hero, but it's traded by Femi, who is the counter hero here. Gets a third, evening things back out to a 2v2. But now all those ultimates are gone, and Femi taken out by the Odin Spray into hell. And once again, beautiful counterplay is coming out from the attackers, but the defenders somehow, quite literally, making them dizzy just like we did, and pulling things back to now be one off from double digits in the first half. All right. This is where I would want to see a timeout if I were the attackers, but I know that they had to use it last already for that mini break, for that time early out the gate to discuss what they could change. So if they're them, I think they're trying to figure out what's been most successful. And because of that, it does look they're instead abandoning their A efforts and going towards B. I do want them to try and test B main a little bit more, because they have just been establishing mid control and dying to it pretty early on. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here again, as Renz, Operator, for the first time in this map, will in fact connect, and Femi even is question marking the kill there from the wallbang. And I mean, that's the first blood you want to see on the defender's side, but that takes one of their duelists out of the picture. And not gonna be able to use that raise to entry into the B site to explore mid. And now it looks like they are in fact going for that mid control, but Unit for Speed is receptive to the updraft. Good for one, looking for a third now. And they won't find it, but the damage is done. It's now a 3v2, and the rotation is going to be right into tree, right into Reed. They clear the corner almost flawlessly, so now we're even back at 2 players versus 2 players. Both coming in through the door, both getting it shut, and the plan will come through. But the issue is, so much utility was wasted on that mid fight. You can see the Sova only with the recon bolt, and they are going to use it pretty early if it's not stripped away with a 0 point. Versus on the opposition, it does look like the KO has all of their utility, and the Killjoy's utility is all coming back online. They find one, they confirm the position, and the double swing is just too clean. And that is, in fact, going to be double digits for dancers here on their defensive half. And they cannot be in a better position in my eyes, just because of the composition fact coming out from the opposition being more favored for their attack. Whew. Last round though, so you're gonna force up. You don't really have to worry about saving any of this money, so it is gonna be a pretty decent buy. The only real tragedies being the Guardian and the Bulldog coming out for Fax and Paid Actor. But once again, a few orbs off. Fax 1 off from the Blaze Storm. You have, you know, Peasy 2 off from the lockdown. So I think even though it's the last round, if they try to go for these orbs, they try to go for those early picks we've seen from the defenders, they'll have some pretty solid retakes tools. This time though, look at that. Once again, aggression off the one-way. Femi being the victim, yet again being that first blood, and without even getting onto his site, I think we're seeing the confidence coming out from the dancers. They are putting on a show for us, Renzen specifically. And suddenly left in the 1v5, it's the aggressive initiator, Xiaoleng, getting stormed by the opposition, even if on the shadows coming out to get revived for the pinch. And it's all but a distraction to secure an 11-1 firmly dominant half for the dancers. Oh my goodness, if that is Act 1, I cannot wait for Act 2 of their performance. And with the side swap, you have to think, how are they going to string together 10 rounds just to tie things up without dropping 2? 1 for the match point, 1 for the victory, or loss in that regard. And it looks like the answer so far is going to be to try and get a trap play out of mid with this Raze, with this Omen, maybe a Paranoia, maybe a Naze, maybe a Satchel. But I don't know if it's gonna come out on top. They've been losing their gunfights a little bit. They've been just very receptive to the aggression on the side of the dancers. And I don't even think they're gonna play around with mid here. They might leave the Omen there, but the full forces are in fact gonna go towards B main here. 0 Point is out. That aggressive utility kit essentially neutralized here and even pinned on to the B site backside boat. But look at this overextension from Renz into CT trying to cut off the rotation. So now not only is site control established, but they are at the front door quite literally here of the retakers. Fax receptive of this though. Gets one, but ultimately is it gonna be enough? Look, they've been flanked and they are gonna go for the knife kill. Oh no, Yidit for speed knife kill to get the teammates to establish that match point. 12-1 match point. And although it might not be a complete shutout, it does look like, since this is the bonus round, that we are headed towards a 13-1. Because of this though, we do obviously have Uwu Kittens 1 buying up. They are going to force that Spectre, they're going to force this Marshall, and they definitely are going to have these shots land if they want a chance to continue their run in week 1 of Blue Skirmish. And so far, on the opposition, they also want to end things out, buying some of the heavier weapons. You use it for speed, confident on the Vandal, on that rifle, and even the Bulldogs coming in. And there it is. They challenge the judge of all things up close in wine. Ooh, solid shots though, finally coming out. 1-for-1 trade. Even though they're down on numbers, Fate Actor is not done fighting, but it's ultimately the Shrouded Step in to the site, into Generator, that leaves Xiaoleng to do the unthinkable. Quite literally, run and gun to seal the deal, to finish things out. 13-1 unsent. And all I can say is, even though my eyes are going to be a little bit more on Uwu Kittens 1, not just because of their name, but their performance on their last map, I do think that pretty clearly dominant coming out on Ascent, at least for the dancers. And I don't think any other team is or should grant them the encore on this map going forward. It should be an instant ban. It should not be allowed in their map pool if they want a chance at beating this team. It was so fluid, using that standard meta composition, proving in fact why it is the meta. Despite that, that does mean that for this week at least, that Uwu Kittens 1 run will come to a close, while our winners dancers will advance to the semifinals. We are going to jump to a quick break though before coming back and announcing what matchup will be our result over on the semifinals side. So stick around. I know I'm personally going to go get some water, and we will be right back. I am I'm up that. I am Caster, yes. Hi. Hi. Sorry. Sorry if I roast anyone. Or am I? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Skirmish Week 1 of our August 2023 series. We saw a very dominant match for our quarterfinals coverage of Dancers versus Uwu Kittens 1, where Dancers took it 13-1, advancing themselves into the semifinals that we are about to show on stream. Their opponent is none other than Wizard GGEZ, who had a very different story for their quarterfinals match. They had a very chilling, very close match of 13-10 against Land Party Hotel on Bind, but all that is out the window. Bind, Ascent, not to be found here in the semifinals. We are going to the mysterious, the new Lotus. And after Ascent, I think it's amazing to be going to a new map where almost nothing is completely set in stone or figured out. And I can't wait to see how these comps differ. And hopefully we won't see a mirror comp here, because that would definitely be an interesting thing, since there's so much to experiment with. I've seen deadlocks, I've seen geckos, I've seen people hate gecko, and of course the double controller. So I mean, for the players are ready, I just want to jump into Agent Select. So as soon as we get there, we'll be able to see which of those theories comes true. Other than that, though, I mean, we just saw Dancers on stream and they were so dominant on a pick like Ascent. Lotus is a completely different machine. It's the least set in stone. There's 3 sites. There's so many avenues to take advantage of. And we saw glimpses of that kind of performance from Rens taking advantage of the mid lurks, of the flanks. And I'm expecting to see a very similar style on their attack here. For now, though, they are starting out on the defense, while our opponents, Wizard, GGEZ, are the ones on the attack. We can already see the compositions getting locked in. And although Dancers are going for the traditional single controller, it does look like we have that double controller coming out from Wizards. And I mean, I'm excited for these comps. It looks like we're seeing Yidit for speed swap over from that info initiator to the breach, more of that aggressive one, which I think will complement their playstyle in terms of how they approached Ascent quite well. I'm just hoping it doesn't tie them down in terms of that individual frag potential, because they're more focused on supporting their teammates. Otherwise, Rhea and Mapizi reprising their roles as Omen and Killjoy respectively from Ascent. And I mean, now let's jump over to the other side, right? I mean, a Neon is such a solid pick on this map. I definitely feel like it's underrated because people like to bring out, you know, the Jet for the op or the Raze for the satchels to get up on Rebel and such. But the quick rotation that Nick will be able to bring out is pivotal, especially here on the attack. You know, if you can pull out rotations, if you can force this defense can force Dancers to over-rotate, it'll make their life so much easier. For now, though, it does look like they're headed towards a quick C-hit, which has kind of been read, actually, by the Dancers. Instead, they're going to have a 3-person push out here. My guess is we're about to have a trap play with that fault line, with that guiding line, and maybe a satchel or a nade. Let's see if that theory will be correct and who will win this all-out war. So far, no contact made, but Yuta wasted nonetheless, and that paint shell is going to chip away at everybody trapped in that corner. Luckily, Alex did buy the regrowth, so no damage, no foul done. And they'll even have to waste a dark cover just to get out. So both relay bolts gone, lots of smokes gone, so much utility being used just to hold down this mound control. Looks like they're trying to fake a rotate with the doorway, but it's only going to draw really that one player over to make sure the rotation is in fact not coming through on B site. For now, though, it has just been this true cut of noise over the guys at the dark cover. And now, they slowly are creeping back in, but it has in fact done its job. Those 2 players that had established this deep mound control now back in safeties of the site. And in fact, first blood after all that finally used. Nick taking out Yidit for speed, site control now relinquished, other than those swarm grenades, trying to push out any additional pressure. Despite the spike just now getting planted, though, the full rotations are coming through. Killjoy going to be the last to get to that site, and now you enter the second phase. Retake. Dark covers are starting to fade. First layer of utility here to try and deny the retake attempt, especially that paranoia. But ultimately, none of it quite working. Now it's the comeback, the retake attempt. And although they're doing a good job of splitting between the 2 exteriors,
one enemy remaining.
It's going to be a full-out war there, and each of them winning their gunfights beautifully, specifically Howl's very low. Still looking for that last player, though. And ultimately, no bullets left in the gun that they swapped to. Ross will take the last, and the first round goes in favor of the opposition. Goes in favor of Wizards GGEZ. And, I mean, it was a pretty solid round from both sides. I think it was great denial initially of that mound control. But ultimately, like I said, if they can bait out these rotations and they can get them to relinquish that control, it makes their life 10 times easier. And that's exactly what they did. Now, though, knowing that they're on an econ buy, it looks like they're going for more of an aggressive attempt. 4 players here about to push into pillar, about to push into main, and then dark cover one way as well, providing as a guy is also blocking up the turret for the flank. So, other than that, though, it does look like this aggression has been read, so it's going to be a full-on firing squad here, while Howells is the only one exploring an alternative route. And just like that, they realize they've over-aggressed, they lose the opening pick, and now they have to re-scramble. I think they believe it's going to be an A-hit because of that pressure, because of the information Mapeezy has. The question is, can they hold down this site alone? Can they wait long enough for the rotations to come through as these better weapons are about to storm the site? And the answer is no, it's going to be a full-on retake. They haven't cleared out Mapeezy into tree. They try to escape, but it's not going to work when 2 players are swinging you. Which will even award a gun upgrade from the Ghost Sheriff to this post plan, but either way, it's still a 5v3. You have to start getting some picks, and when you are full blind, that is the last thing you'll be able to do, especially when there's a run and gun. Alex, the Spectre coming at you for the flawless 2-0 here, and definitely a very different change of pace than what we saw back on Ascent from this team. I mean, already losing more rounds than they lost in that last matchup. Despite that, though, it is going to be their first rifle round, so this is the chance to get their first round on the board to start closing this gap, ensuring that snowball doesn't form and come cascading down the hill into their face, ending their run. And we've already seen a change. This is the 3rd time that they've done something different, and I praised this back on Ascent because it meant that the opposing side, you know, Urkittens 1 could not adapt to it. So far, though, we haven't really needed to see any adaptation out of Wizards GG Easy. And this early A aggression is actually a guy's for the rotation on to B, and it's been read pretty easily by the attackers. So they're instead going to pivot off the Seekers into the C site, into this Killjoy utility. Mapeezy is on an island here thanks to that dark cover, forced to fall back to cover their teammates. And although they've taken space, Nick isn't done. Pushing into CT, trying to cut off those rotations, and they in fact will, even granting them a weapon upgrade. They aren't going to follow through, though. They're instead going to fall back to the comfort of their team and resume their numbers advantage post-play crossfires. They haven't even used that much utility, though. It's just the Neon going in and getting these kills. Here comes the attempt, alarm bot contact, trap play off the Paranoia. The only opposition there is the fault line, but it won't really catch anybody, at least to kill. So it's still now a 5v2 situation. Second layer out, Guiding Light will catch the Neon off guard, but Alex is there to make sure that no one dies from the friendly fire. There it is, though. Finally, some sort of redemption for User for Speed, taking 1 off the round, but that was your buy. That was a bonus for Wizards GG Easy. So now their wallets are padded. They have a little bit of a room to work with here as they now head into rifles, and you're reset to an econ disadvantage. Once again, though, because of that, they know they have to play, they know they have to favor to the numbers. So instead, I think they're realizing that maybe the Viper's been lurking. Maybe they've been playing alone here towards A main. So instead of storming Pillar, instead of storming through B, they are going to file in A main towards Rebel. It worked last round for establishing early control, but let's see if it can here with the nade, with the Poison Cloud to counter. So far, no one's fallen, but they have gotten some things off of that Killjoy. And here it is, like I said, them trying to challenge this Viper, but they haven't done it fast enough. The reinforcements are arriving as well as the sprays to the smoke landing quite literally in a perfect line. Dominoes falling, 2 gone out of this round. And once again, no spike planted, no site taken, and they are already down players for any retake attempt that might come their way. For now, though, the next challenge is this Omen situated on the C site. They won't be able to find anybody, though, and just like that, a repeat. It's going to be a 5v2 retake, just like the last, but worse weapons in their hands. Again, though, Nick, not done searching, not done pushing deeper into the Rotator's spawn. And this time, they're occupying the Waterfall, and I don't know about this decision. The 2 last defenders playing split up here. Although it might allow them to isolate a little bit more, it won't even matter. They give the 1v1s over, and Nick and Incursio with those better weapons. And I don't know if it's the second or the third flawless, but either way, 4-0. And I don't know. I mean, it is a 3-map site, so people are more used to saying that it's attack sided because you don't know where those attackers are going to go. Your defenders have to be more thinly spread, but so far it just seems like they've been doing a good job of neutralizing these star players, these standouts that we saw over on Ascent for the Dancers. And I mean, I don't want to call an early end of their performance, but it's 4-0 already. And once again, an adaptation, another plan, another attempt. But once again, an equally different response coming out from the Wizards. It's quite magical, the number of different plays we've seen from them. For example, this time, starting out with some presence, starting out with some pressure on B, which forces the rotation from the Raze off of the A site. Then it's a pivot back to A, which is now the weakly defended site. The only player there being Sky, really deep in the stairs. Although they do have to clear out all of Rebel, which they'll use that Trailblazer for. And that sound, now the sprays as well coming through, will give the information that they need for the breach, for the Raze to rotate over. And it's Madara, finally. Coming in clutch there, getting one, but it's quickly traded out upon the entry to site. No damage done thanks to that regrowth as plant will go through. And finally, it's going to be an equal footing retake here. 4-on-4 Seekers as well to get the information that they need. The question is, do they know about the flank through B? The Breach and Killjoy ready to take the fight, but will they take it solo is the question. It doesn't matter. The real action is happening over on site. And Curcio finding one, quickly traded by Mizpeezy, making great progress in towards this site, such as another pick on for Ross. They're not done though. They're searching for a third, doing it all themselves. Only 30 HP. They know that the door was a fake. And Madara is there to close it out. The dynamic duo returns, Mizpeezy and Madara. Madara here to get the first round on the board. And the defuse will even bring the lockdown into play. As they get their first round, they get some footing here on Lotus.
Now we're on the right path. Let's keep going.
As Sky said, on the right path, starting to close the gap. Obviously, though, they haven't done enough of a dent to the economy if you're up 4 rounds. So now this will be another rifles on rifles action. And if you're the attackers, you have to figure out what went wrong. This is the first adaptation that they're going to have to make. This is the first reaction to losing a round. I think it was moreover just they split up a little bit too much and then lost the fights thanks to that hero play, like I said, from PZ. But ultimately, once again, we're going to start off with some early B aggression. This time led by Nick with the Judge. Paranoia is going to force that player in link deeper back, but the fall line is on point as the overdrive comes out. They're trying to aggress here. But that toxic screen more providing coverage for the Omen. And it's Yijit and Reed holding down the site beautifully. Finally, Breach is like, they've challenged my domain. I am not done fighting. And there it is, trying to go for the fourth. They overextend just a bit, affording Ross one, but they fall in the second round on the board. The lead steadily crumbling for our attackers, crumbling for Wizards. GG easy. Despite that, though, thanks to the fragging out from Yijit for speed, they do bring their own Rolling Thunder online, so another powerful retake tool. So far, we've seen one really successful retake, one really successful site hold denial. So, I mean, I think it could go either way. They either aggress early and win their fights, or they retake. We just can't have a failed hold attempt where all their utility is wasted, because then their retake is so weak. For example here, already out the gate, one dark cover gone, one flashpoint gone, and no real ground gained other than basic mound control. Once again, though, the reaction from Wizard GG. Not to take the aggression, not to fight the war, instead playing the war of attrition, waiting out these pushes, cutting all noise. I'm hoping, though, that the Dancers have learned and are not going to fall off, are not going to allow them to push back in here after relinquishing that space. And that's exactly what has happened. They've completely shut the door and locked it on Wizards GG, forcing the rotation into A, where that Killjoy utility is waiting, where that information should come through any second along with the rotation. The question is, can Mizpeezy do it again? Can they hold on to the site? So far, the answer is yes. They have been hit by 3 pieces of utility and cannot hold on any longer. And Curcio adding insult to injury there. So it is going to be once again a comeback from behind. 3 players only, so 1 person down in the retake, but they do have the upper leg in terms of the ultimates. Rolling Thunder could definitely give them this round back. Question is, will they invest it? Definitely probably not if Renz has also fallen here, so no re-entry element into the site. And I think, look at this, Wizard GG receptive of the fact that they can bring out this Rolling Thunder if they get 1 or 2 more players. So they're all playing offside, they're all playing far, but they're gonna swing it into 3, and Nick now pressuring, following up, and suddenly, although they're in tree, Madara is quite literally pinched. And because they're concussed, Alex will steal the kill from Nick, securing a 5th, stopping the comeback momentum, really, from the Dancers here. Although I do want to say that the pressure of this situation has thus been building as no real ultimates other than the overdrive have come out this game so far. So we're definitely headed towards kind of that implosion where every single ultimate is going to be used just because of that kind of crowd effect. And it's definitely going to be a chaotic round nonetheless. I don't know if it'll come here, but because it is rifles on rifles instead of leveraging them on your thrifty. But I can't wait to go figure it out, especially since they are headed towards this B site. Once again, early aggression. Two players, though, there. Prepared to take the fight, prepared to hold on. And Nick, once again, solo, trying to go in, trying to find the opening. Despite that, though, time and time again, they've used this pressure and then this cutting of all noise, cutting of utility to force out false rotations from the opposing, from Dancers. And this time, it hasn't really worked. Yes, they went over to check it out, but now Raze is back to C. Now Sky is back to A. And although the Seekers will award them a site, the Killjoy utility gets all the information they need. And Madara, once again, through the dark cover on stairs, is able to find one. They already have a plan, though. Retake in effect. The question is, will they be expecting Nick this close? Relay bolt? No! Madara is there to be the protector in need, and the rotations are on point as suddenly it's a 5v2, and they are pinched from both sides.
Last player standing.
They're able to destroy the attacker lockdown, but damage is done as well from those players on the B site, and it'll be a 4 players walking around with rifles. They walk around away with the defuse, and they're even now only 2 off from getting the Seekers back online. Either way, though, finally making this a closer game, ensuring that they weren't headed towards a counter dominance to what we saw from the Dancers in the last map. And I think they finally have started. No, they haven't yet. They've definitely like relinquished a little bit of the economy from Wizards GG Easy, so that they're not at that max level. But they definitely could buy another round if they need to, especially with Hausva opting for the judge, likely hinting at the fact that they want to get this Viper's Pit online this round, which also might be why they're trying to head into this B site. It's a little bit closer contact. Equally, though, it has been read by the defenders here. They're fighting for this pressure. They don't want to give this site up. And so far their attempts have worked. The concuss will force Renz's paint shell to find its mark. Use it for speed as well, connecting as they try and get the trade off. So now the shoe's on the other foot, and you are 3 people strong, 2 people down without taking a site for these attackers. Once again, though, get the orb, cut noise, reaggress. Finally, though, like I said, the Dancers have learned. They aren't rotating too fast. They know now that this team likes to cook up outplays. And so far, they haven't been landing ever since the rounds started getting won. I do like how far Hausva is up, though. They don't use any utility here. They might even not take the corner. And there it is. But Renz is ready. Ultimately traded out, though, as Madara tries to reinforce with a guiding light instead of a gun. Doesn't matter, though. And Curcio, spike planted, but they are left in a 1v4. Finds the first and the second. I was going to say narrowly avoids the fall line, but no, it clips them, allowing Mapeasy to get the easy kill. And once again, no ultimates really used, but they get the round, and there is a 1-round difference now. They're just hanging out, maybe waiting for some time to get this defused. Taking a breather, like I should, you know. It's a great option.
Bomb grenade out.
Either way, though. Suddenly, we're 1 round apart, and that economy, like I said, is on its last life for Wizards GGEZ. This is their last opportunity to firmly establish their lead, establish a tied half, before their reset finally to an econ, to a lesser buy here. I mean, you can already see telltale signs of that, like Hausva on the light shield here. And, I mean, when you have ultimates like this is a round where I think you can really turn the tide if you are the Dancers. Not only can you get the round to tie things up, but then, like I said, Wizards GG will be on that lighter buy. Does look like, though, once again, they don't repeat the same play twice here, as the Wizards will take their magic to the A site yet again, which they've been getting pretty easily. It's just their retake attempts have fallen flat, either from an ultimate or for such. Either way, though, had a little bit of a quick tech pause. Now we are back into the action And this time, they're leaving the Killjoy pretty much alone. I think they are relying on these retake ultimates like the Showstopper, like the Rolling Thunder, instead of getting those early picks on. While instead they establish their Control B, and even extend it towards the C-site mound potentially. All in the meanwhile, the exploration adventure towards A, panning out. They destroy the first Molly, but no other contact made yet with the Killjoy utility. Peasy though, prepared for the hit and forced back deeper. They're going to play a 5-person retake here, I think is the plan. The question is, will Peasy be alive for that plan? Taking the literal leap, and it'll come up huge, getting one, looking for the second, and they find it. Trying to get the third through the pit as it comes up. They'll get them down to half HP, but the damage is done, the ultimate in effect. It is going to be a 5v2 though. They still haven't planted Spike, and there it is, the double come through. But Peasy a third on the round. The pinch, the flank, Madara once again. And with a flawless, they do exactly what I said they wanted to this round. I think they used some fireworks there for celebration at the end with that Showstopper coming out a little bit, taking the tied game celebration to heart. But that does mean it won't be a tool for this round, meaning they'll rely a lot more on those Seekers from Madara, maybe a hero play with from the shadows thanks to the Omen. But either way, finally starting to learn, finally trying to just like test out those critical thinking, those problem solving skills that they didn't really have to use over on Ascent when their gunplay was enough. And it's worked so far, and I'm surprised we haven't seen a timeout really from either team to, like I said, get that thought process started, or from the opposition now to shut down this comeback. Regardless though, they're taking that Spike to C, and it looks like that's exactly what the dancers want. You can see these two players ready to apply pressure through door on a moment's notice, while the other players are positioned with the utility. The Fallen, the Paranoia, here it is. Like I said, started with the Pain Shell, continued with frags from both sides, and although they're alone, they have the better weapon. Renz and Ree from the site. I mean, what better round could you have asked for? It was set up, it was executed, and you don't lose that many players, so you'll have a full buy going into this round. Like, only thing I think that really went quote-unquote wrong there was Madara falling, but I mean, they didn't even need the ult orbs. They still have and had their Seekers online to bring now into this round to ensure that they have a lead going into this next half. The only obstacle though is, I know my wonderful observer here, you know, FaZe said they wanted to see Renz on the operator more, and it looks like in this last round they might be getting their wish, I was gonna say, but the dark cover plus the overall aggression from that neon dash is gonna force them to switch weapons, hand it off to the Vandal, and the Seeker's coming for the execute, but they are aggressing, almost catching them off guard. Oh no! I don't know how the relay bolt hit themselves, but it's costly, losing them their life. And once again, it's gonna have to be a retake attempt. Down players here for the opposition. 3v4, very possible, especially with their own Seekers online. And as I say that, they will be dumped into the site here. Really though, they're expecting a hero play from Ree, being the solo player to aggress towards Mound, while the rest come out of drop. Fault line out, enabling them to peek, but it won't really find anything. Especially now, the uncertainty of the positioning from the counter Omen to add to the mix of chaos. And full blinded by their teammate. They swing into tree alone. Madara though, like I said, pinched thanks to that teleportation from Curcio. So just like that, a competitive series, a competitive map as we end the half 6-6 and swap sides.
I need this.
Now, I didn't really analyze the effects too much of having that double controller versus the double initiator when we were back in Agent Select, but I think this is truly where it's going to come out and where it's going to come shine on that defense, all right? Because if you're the attackers, you have this double initiator, you have this information, you have this kind of oomph potential to get you into a site, versus with the controllers on the defense, this is where it's truly going to clash because you have no visibility, you have no space to capitalize off that information gain. So I'm hoping that this is truly where it's going to be an even closer of a matchup. I know we saw an early dominance out the gate from Wizards GGEZ, which is exactly what they're trying to continue here. Look, 3 members pushing up so deep in A main, getting so much information that there's no lurker, which has in fact shown that it is going to be a B-A split. Utility used to deny, forcing them to pivot into the C site, into that Killjoy utility, where all eyes are going to be on Ross. Yes, the rotation from the Viper comes over, But as this Poison Cloud fades, they've actually refaked the double cell, and they're headed into the left stack side of B, where only the Sky is sitting and waiting. And they'll be given a free sight.
Spike planted.
5v5 though, on the pistol. Trying to establish a deeper control. In fact, gonna push out blind to the Trailblazer and try to follow up for picks, which will work for one. Looking for a second, but Alex is guiding light. He'll get traded out. Suddenly a 3v1, last player position known. And once again, trade for trade. Who comes out on top is the team with more players.
We're here because we're the best.
And the lead is once again reclaimed by the Dancers. A beautiful comeback so far, and it should be followed up beautifully unless there's a Thrifty incoming. But Thrifties on the defense especially are hard on this map unless you can get some beautiful timing, some beautiful lurk arounds, which it looks like they had one set up last round and then just weren't able to follow through on it. Now though, debating who gets what weapon here on the attacker side, especially for the C execute, where they are going into, I would say, those most defensively stacked site, having that controller, having that killjoy there, especially being the Viper. Only thing is, they have just the snake bite really to close up this initial hit, but the vulnerability is all they need. Good for one, but ultimately traded. So the numbers still now with that pick from Renz in favor of the Dancers.
Spike planted.
And although the rotations have come through, the retake is going to be quite difficult. Once again, playing more split up, but on the side of the Dancers, on the side of the attackers, they don't want to give these easy picks, easy fights over. They want to maintain this weaponry. Alex, though, does only have the shorty, so gonna try and flash out, gonna try and get a little bit closer of a contact. Do all the two of them only have shorties? Oh my god, they do. It's the shorty squad for the 2v4. Let's see if they can ninja the fuse. No, it's Renz up close as well and personal with a Spectre. And that'll be 8-6 here as they extend their lead. I mean, I'm not too worried yet. Like I said, you start out 6-6, you lose the pistol, it's common for you to lose the follow-up. This is the round where you can start running away with things. We saw that it happen exactly with Dancers or sorry, not I almost said Dancers GG Easy. That's the sequel, you know, when the two teams come together. But from Wizards GG Easy, they won the Thrifty. They flipped those rifles on the opposition's head the first half. So now it looks like we're lined up to do the same thing, but by the Dancers. And it looks like they are gonna take their show to the A site where this aggression I am quite unsure of. If they hand these weapons over, it'll be, you know, an extra speed prime delivery with Nick running in. That would be exactly what causes the downfall, exactly what causes the counter thrift. So far, it hasn't happened though. Utility from both sides to control and assert control over this A main space, but neither side really gaining anything here except for loss of utility. On the other hand though, Ree, on their exploration towards B, comes up not only with a sight but a plant. And their repivot from A main is almost immediate from the rest of their team. That plant as well brings online from the shadows. It doesn't look like they're going to try and use it though. Instead, they're going to be fighting here. Gets the weapon, gets out of dodge. Almost died into the wall. But, I mean, it's a 5v3. And I might be caster cursing here, bringing history to fruition with the counter thrifty. And that's exactly what I do. Both teams each winning those 3-round gaps, unlike what they should have been able to do. Which does make things interesting now. If you're Wizards GG Easy, you thought you came out of the gate strong, you thought you had the momentum established, and it slowly has been slipping from their fingertips, and they have not been able to claw it back. This is where you have to see those adjustments, you have to see those changes made, and that's exactly what we've seen here. The Killjoy and the Viper, who were previously on the C and B sides, completely swapping where they're playing, while instead it's going to be an aggressive play out of C mound, potentially from the defenders. All this in the meanwhile, though, has been read by the attackers. It's been read by Dancers, and they're instead avoiding it all and heading towards A. My question is, will the lurk space by Bapizi being denied cause any difficulties to the retake? The question will come if this pick is answered, and it is with a clean deagle shot and the weapon upgrade for Nyx, while Ross as well is holding down this tree site beautifully. They know that they're there, but the question is, do they know the Viper is as well? It won't matter. The showstopper comes in for both.
Okay.
They're going to use the additional utility to clear it out. The double swing is good as well. So suddenly we're back to even numbers. 3 on 3 weapons, obviously still in favor of the attackers. They need to use this utility from the sky, from the oven, to put Nyx in an optimal position. Trailblazer will get that started with some information. Only spotting the one drop, but here it is. Overdrive. Weapon given to Incursio, and although it's good for one, it's ultimately now 2v1. Incursio, like I said, trusted with this hero weapon, but they're getting flanked by Renz, and Renz might even go for the knife. You know, it'd be great if they went for the knife, but
One enemy remaining.
oh my goodness, is there enough time? They're just gonna stick it the entire way. It affords them to swing, and they don't get it to half. They can't even get out. With that though, that is gonna be the 10th round, double digits on the board for Dancers. And I mean, I want to praise, obviously, the defenders there. They were on an econ. They stuck together well. The repivot, the response was good. I wish they kept it here though, for the follow-up, for their rifle round. I wish they kept the Viper over on A, so they can keep them guessing about where this Killjoy is playing. Instead though, they've returned to what they were doing before the last round. Now that they have rifles, where it's the Killjoy solo on C, the Viper solo B, and the rest on A. Probably trying to play for a retake, probably trying to play for a rotation, unless the follow-up flank is true.
I've got your trail.
Either way, from the shadows into the site to draw the attention away from the Killjoy. They know that that player is there, but they're already getting pressured from main, and with that paranoia coming through, Ree will get the first blood on the round. And once again, down a person for the retake. For now, as Halsey will try and fight it back, not just for one, but for two. And suddenly Spike isn't planted, and all site control has been essentially relinquished. They have to refight their way in, and that fight they will lose. And suddenly it's a 1v2 from Appeasy.
I got the spike.
46 HP. Minute left, so they have the time they need to readjust, to reposition. But look at this. They're holding hands here, CT. They're granted the 1v1 somehow thanks to timing, but Incursio wins that fight with the better HP. And they finally stopped the bleeding 10-7. And they'll even bring some good ultimates online to use in the follow-up. They have the Viper Spit, a great sight hold defensive tool. They have the From the Shadows, a great rotation tool, especially to reinforce these solo holds that we've seen on B and C if they need to in a moment's notice. Otherwise, it does look like we're going to see them starting towards the C site once again on Decided Dancers. We've seen them either follow through with it or a quick pivot to B or A, so who knows what their final game plan will be. But once again, either way, challenging this Killjoy's hold at the C site, and the Viper already rotating over based off the information communicated. It's actually going to be an execution from that orb collection with the Rolling Thunder, paired with further breach utility for the denial. But like I said, both ultimates now from the defensive side coming out. One to deny the space gained, one to reinforce the rotation as fast as possible. Hauser, though, might not expect Rems this close. It doesn't matter. The invulnerability will allow them to get the kill. Sprays as well as they stick it through the pit. They've planted and are just playing in Viper's world. They want this to be their own world, but it's not quite working. They're forced to retreat as the pit will in fact actually fall for visibility. And it's going to be a 4v2, 4v1. Once again, Mapeasy left to carry the world. They have their knife out! But it won't matter. A fourth on the round for Nick, asserting why they are the dominant duelist here, wanting the glory. And the defuse will come through, and suddenly the gap has closed to 2. Insane, both of these teams starting out halves on the off foot and fighting back here. Just the adaptation ability, beautiful. The reads, beautiful. And all of this without a single timeout called, I might mind you. Either way, does look like they finally are going to have this full-out war they've been prepared for every round on the side of Wizards. GGEZ. Let's see this time if it's just going to be a util meeting util, or if it'll finally cause some first blood action. As the Ares is trying to deny the space being taken, but it's actually a game of timing, as Renz will find not one, but two, and a third as well to completely win that battle. Let's see if they can win the war, though, following up on the space gain. It'll be a hard bill to fill, 2v5 retake, and they're not even following through on A! Back turn, but the shot's not hit, and it's a quick pivot from Madara to complement Rem's 4K to put them back on track with that flawless. 1 off now from match point. Whew. Either way, though, even though they're 1 off from match point, even though they have weapons, so does Wizards GG Easy. In fact, they have 2 ultimates as well. Lockdown online for the retake, Overdrive as well to apply that pressure, to apply that distraction that we've seen them use it for previously. And even though they lost quite scarringly on this aiming pressure, does look like they're going to give it a second chance here. This time maybe Nick is prepared, like I said, with that Overdrive, maybe even that Odin spam as well, trying to apply consistent pressure so they can't counter spam. But instead of taking the fight, they're going to avoid it and repivot to C, where we've seen this happen before. And once again, uncontested. This time, though, no first blood drawn, so it should be a 5-on-5. I don't like that decision from Ron, so it'll cost them not only their life, but the retake ultimate here. And Renz is just going to bulldoze through, knowing that there's not much to do to challenge. And suddenly, it's going to be a duelist battle. Yes, last round we saw Rems with the 4K, but they are not done swinging here. And Curcio now getting pinched from both sides, pretty unknowingly that the breach is behind them. Counter strafe doesn't quite work. The fault line will connect, and use it for speed is hunting, and will lose their life as a result. Suddenly, that overconfidence waning as they realize they might be selling a 4v1. 1v2 spike was just planted. So Curcio has time to capitalize on this opportunity, this mistake that's been granted to them. Looks like their answer is going to be to venture through Waterfall. The question is, do they know that the map has been flipped? Shroud a step to try and trick the opposition, but it's the Trailblazer for all the information they need. Ree will swing off of it, and it's match point here on Lotus.
Match point.
Like it says, match point, 12-8. And although they had no ultimates to work with last round, they now have 3 to work with to close this out in aggressive, in dynamic fashion. Seekers, Showstopper to get them into his sight. Lockdown for the post plant to deny the retake that we know we've seen Wizards GG Easy favoring recently, especially since they have their own lockdown that they might want to use here. Finally a change though as well. They don't have those 3 players A, which means only Alex is the potential receiver of this gift of this rocket show that Renz is trying to bring them. So although they'll be afforded a free A site, they still are going to invest the lockdown nonetheless to make sure things are clear, to further secure their post-plant positioning. And I think it's smart here, but it is going to mean a 5v5 true retake to end it all if Dancers comes out on top. First wave of utility, information coming through. The trade is denial of space off of the paint shell. Now the entry off of the paranoia. And the overdrive here with the lockdown. The question is, can Renz challenge and destroy it? So far, not yet, but they still are fighting up close, and there it is, Seekers now running to get behind, running to get to the edge of the lockdown. And although they make it, it's been red, and it's gonna be a 3v3 side game, but they don't clear the right angle order, and they'll die to tree. Clock is ticking, and Curcio once again the hero from the last round, but the time is ticking away. And there it is, the team ace of all things to finish out that map, ending Wizard GG's easy journey this week in Blue Skirmish and granting the ticket to the grand finals for the Dancers, where their show will go on and we will see their final performance this week. And I mean, I'm impressed by both teams there. I think both did a really good job of giving and taking, of responding to each other. Like I said, literally mirroring each other's performances over on that attack half, of not just winning the pistol and the follow-up, but then converting the thrifty as well. So I definitely think both teams have information to take from this match, to learn from going into the next few weeks, where they'll play the same people possibly over again, depending on how the bracket shakes out. So either way, I'm glad to see that we saw Renz and Madara kind of finally waking up there at the same time we kind of saw Curcio waking up. But if they were like that the entire game, it would have been completely different story, I would say, especially over on that defensive half, where it kind of shows how dominant you can be on your attack on Lotus for them. Like I said, it's a 3-site map, clearly sighted, but either way, let's go take a look at our standings. Obviously, Dancers paving their way into the grand finals, and our other match between 9G team and Karan Kursu Tafia is in fact still going on. So we will jump to a quick break after looking at these stats to see who will join them in the grand finals. So stick around and we will be back after the break. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are on to the grand finals of Blue Skirmish August 2023 series, week number 1. And during the break, we had our final matchup of the semifinals, which was Karan, Kursu, Tafia. I'm so sorry, I probably butchered that, so I'll call it KKT during the actual thing, where they were able to pretty dominantly secure their game against 9G team on Lotus, which was 13-5. Now, the interesting thing is we just saw that Dancers, who punched their ticket, also did it on Lotus. So why don't we make it third time the charm by having our grand finals also go to Lotus? We'll see if both of those teams learned from their mistakes and are ready to win week number 1. So I don't want to keep these two teams waiting, so we can just jump into Agent Select whenever the players would like to. And I am nervous, don't get me wrong, for KKT, just because even though they had a dominant run on their map last in the semifinals, just it looked like finally Dancers were heating up. They were figuring things out. You know, we saw Madara start to wake up with a clutch. We saw Ren start to wake up with not even clutches, but opening up the round with the first blood plus more. And if they keep that fire, even with the small break that we had, they will be 10 times stronger than before. So let's see if they keep the same team comp as we jump into Agent Select here on Lotus. We already have one difference, is that Mache Down is going to be on the Jet versus the Raze that Renz likes to play. Other than that, it does look like they're going more for what we saw the previous opponents, Wizards GG Easy, go for, which is that single controller, that double initiator. But instead of a breach, it is going to be the KO for it's just Akme. And other than that, same thing that we saw. Oh, sorry, GG Easy Wizards did the double controller as well. It was the opposition now that the defenders are on that did the single controller again. And with that, although it's not mirror comps, it is mirror roles. So it'll be interesting to see how the difference between the KO, double information, pairs with the aggression from Yijit for Speed. I think Yijit for Speed did pop up a little bit more back on Ascent under the Sova, but their breach is nothing to criticize either. They were there for their team. They were providing that support from across the map from these pinch locations. And I think that's what allowed them to come back the first time around. So let's see if they can start out the gate stronger this time. Their attack is when they started heating up. So the fact that they're starting the defense means that they need to get out the gate early on, or they'll fall behind like we saw early on in the last map. I think that's going to be a key win condition here for this team. But before we can even jump into the action, we are going to have a quick tech pause all ready here, just to make sure. I lied to you. They're already ready. They just don't want to start out the action that is the grand finals either for you guys. But I am ready. I hope you all are ready. And we're going to get into the thick of things where it looks like KKT is going to be first exploring towards the C site, where there actually is that aggression from Dancers already layered in, already taking space on Mound like we are used to. But the smokes over on A have completely drawn the over rotation. Look, there's nobody on C anymore. The sky is backed all the way up in to C Hall here. And now Ren slowly realizes they've made that mistake, but I'm even confused as to why they fell back so fast. Now they're going to have to play offsite for the retake potentially. You can see that fault line now coming in after the paint shell did its job, which will effectively render that paranoia for entry useless there. So slowly whittling away the attacker's utility here. And once again, though, adapting the Wizards GG Easy strategy of not following through, instead cutting noise, trying to make these rotations back out off of the site, which is kind of working for Yijit for Speed, but everybody else is anchoring. They've learned that teams like to do this. They learned that they might still be headed into this site even if there's no signs of it. This 0 point, though, won't be helping the claims of rotation here. You can see that breach already deeper into the B site, but here comes the reaggression, here comes the peak, and Renz just barely gets the timing right not to leave the site as Madara will open things up with the first blood. Guiding Light, though, forces them further back, giving Ben control over. Slaughter extending on that by taking Renz out. All this fake time, though, has brought the fault line back online, which looks like they're going to try to capitalize off it through Hall, potentially. Making sure it's in the right position based off the information they have from the Trailblazer. Flashpoint out. They're able to isolate the one boxes, and Ree gets a clean flick to another. But the real exchange is happening here on center platform and that bend to get the last two. Ree on fire, quite literally, with 3. And they will walk away with only 1 fallen. And just like that, like I said, they need to win. They need to come strong out of the gate. And that's already a different team than what we saw from before. Like, they weren't too eager to rotate. They retook together and gets the first round on the board. Now, though, they just have to make sure that they win the follow-ups. So far, still waiting to see what the full buy will be, but we have 2 Spectres on the table paired with that Bulldog from Madara. And we've seen them lose the 3rd round conversion when they force rifles, so there's definitely a possibility that if they're caught off guard here by an aggressive push B, that the same could occur. But for now, it will be Re as that first that first line of defense on the B site, as they're just slowly pushing pillars, waiting for the Killjoy on the flank to either push up or just to be the hold in case they try to flank. Renz, though, gonna solo deny this space, splitting up the forces, and now the collapse inwards towards C comes in that KJ has been inhabiting. And there it is, this tailwind in, but Much Down now isolated from the rest of the team because of that fault line, which allows the flood in from the defenders. So now site has been grasped, and you have to figure out where this opening in it is. And that's exactly what we're seeing Akame and Machidao do right now. All in the meanwhile, the pinch is coming through. It is a 4v4 because of the trade, but as soon as the start cover falls, it's going to be Renz to save Real's life. Swap the guns based on HP, you double satchel in, and you're trying to finish these people off. Satchel to further divide the players, and although the right click will land for Slaughter, they have too many angles to clear, and Renz, 3rd on the board. Like I said, looking at the scoreboard, 3 for Madara, Renz, and Real each apiece. I said that they got warmed up. I said they were starting to heat up on the last time they were on this map. Now that they picked it, I think they're just going to take it and run. 2-0, so not a terrible effort on the anti-econ from KKT. And now they'll have full rifles to start to get their own points on the board. The question is, will they continue their dominance? Does it look like it'll stall out for now from the momentum, as they're going to have another quick tech pause here. But I mean, that just gives us time to think, right? It's going to be full rifles, like we said, for KKT, while the opposition will have those bonus weapons. You can see there, Madara is going to force the Deagle, while Real and Yujit for speed maintain those classics. But something I've seen so far that's really solid from the opposition, from Dancers, is just the fact that they're able to either win fights, get the weapon upgrades, and run with it, or they're able to hand these weapons off pretty fluidly between each other for whoever's the favorable individual to use it. We actually have an example of this where Mapeasy's actually going to force the upgraded operator and the light shield to ensure they can, or sorry, I said operator, the upgraded rifle into a Vandal. Oh my goodness. Been a long 3 matches. And going to hand off their gun to Yujit. So now they are going to be the hero that they need to help them hopefully get more of these weapons off of the attacker's side. They also have been that kind of solo hold over towards A, so them having that weapon to rely on might just be the cherry on top to complement their Killjoy utility. But we'll see if they follow through with that, as they are the player that is DC'd, so when they get back, we'll see if they sell the weapon, if they follow through on this plan, or what is in the cards for this team to try and bring a Thrifty out to further establish their lead. Other than that, though, Slaughter with some of those clean shots with the Classic does have their ultimate online, which is probably why they are the spike carrier in this situation, so they can have a quick escape route to an opposite side if it is required by them. But so far, I mean, they have been that clutch kind of king being in those situations time and time again. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it this round, especially with these rifles, because the aggression so far has been on point from Dancers, even just the pinches, and we got to see an adjustment soon coming out from KKT. Looks like, though, still waiting on the reconnect. And you can see neither team really spreading out across the map, respecting the fact that the time is not in their favor. But it does look like, I was going to say, I was hoping for some red light, green light, but it's more of just a performance here with the Killjoy. Some little dances to try and summon this last player back, and here they come. So I'm expecting for it to end pretty soon. Maybe it's Simon Says. I could see it being Simon Says. Is it Simon Says? Let's see. They're crouching together. I want to say it's Simon Says. Yeah, we have our winner. Let's go. We'll have to ask them afterwards if they were playing Simon Says or not. I'm gonna ask. Is this Simon Says? Attackers. We'll see if I'm correct there, but while we wait, they are, in fact, ready to get back into the action. The mini game within the game coming to a close, and it was Simon Says! Either way, giving us some mid-round entertainment, but that entertainment is drawn to a close. Does look like I was correct in my assumption that KJ was going to be that solo defender over on the A side off of the utility here, but that is where the initial pressure is going to be applied from the attackers, trying to fake it out with some utility usage while Spike is in fact in spawn. And once again, look at this trap play set up here in B if they decide to fall for it. We've seen these collapse inward beautifully, and I think that's why we're kind of seeing a hesitancy here from KKT in following through, knowing they might be walking into a trap play. And somehow, though, once again, timing is just not on their side. They fall back too soon, and it's going to be Yijit for Speed caught out as the solo person on this site, other than Renz, who has fallen in the exchange, the scramble to get back to support their teammate. Despite this, though, no follow-through onto the B site, a rotation coming through, specifically Spike headed towards A, while maybe some presence off of that 0 point, off of that swarm grenade dumped in the C site will force the rotations once again incorrectly towards their side. Fear not, though, Mapizi is back to the site, back to their util with, like I said, that hero rifle, so not all hope is lost, but that utility is pretty much out of commission here, destroyed, and they take the fight into 3, and although the Sky is dropped to 5 HP, you can already see how up close and personal they are. The timing just wrong. Playing in and out with the smoke, but it'll fade anyways. So it will be a trade. But ultimately 4v2, even if you get these weapons, numbers are not in your favor. No HP, but it doesn't matter if you miss your deagle shot. Madara, like I said, heating up. Seekers online in the 1v2 is going to go for it. But forced to reload, knows that they're getting pinched here. So quickly pushing in to the site. Guiding Light to isolate. They will catch Matjao. They need the timing right here, and they should be running out of bullets in that magazine. And because of that, Matjao will swing out of tree, finish off the round, and get their first point on the board. But that was, like I said, pretty costly. Dancers know how to make it hurt. Although the rotations were ill-timed or ill-informed based off the fake giving them the A site, the retake there, especially the hero play from Madara, is what they need now going into this next round, where they will have the rifles, but they've forced now so many rebuys and so many light shields out of KKT that they should be able to have a little bit of an upper hand here, minus the ultimates in favor of KKT. Either way, once again, establishing this firm control over B main, getting ready for that potential C pinch that we saw last map against Wizard GGEZ. The question is, will this Trailblazer isolate the Rays here? They haven't cleared them out, which allowed them to get the trade back, but ultimately they will fall too. So numbers advantage once again in favor of the attackers here. They know the breach is this common B player, but it doesn't matter. The lurk from Avar, the first time we've seen them, will come through on the C site for real. And they are all over the map, still finding picks everywhere they go if they are your KKT. And with that, even Matjao, with that lurk, finds a third. So C-Site will be the final destination for the plant. Killjoy, like I said, that lone A defender, now the last to rotate. Still wary, too, of the lurk here. B instead, you can see, with that alarm bot, prepping to save this rifle. Doesn't think they can win this round. Question is, are they brave enough to go hunting for this weapon to make sure that they do not bring it? You can see Matjao being the flank hold here, while the rest, you can see, trying to now pinch top mid by sending a player into spawn, sending a player into B. Frights going around beautifully here, and they're holding the wrong angle. They heard the jump up, though. Good for one. I do question the denial of use of the turret here to hold down the site itself, but they know where they are now, trying to get the pinch once again. Alarm bot contact made. They even waste the paranoia just to get this rifle out of their hands, which I think is a worthy cause, and it's going to be 2-2 now. And because of that, they are reset back into this econ situation. You can see here some Deagles, a Spectre, maybe even a Vandal from Renz, which would be the hero of the group here, to try and cause a dent, ensure that the lead that they just established isn't stripped away after the pistol and follow-up bonus. On the other hand, though, ultimates to work with while it's starting to build, and even though they've had a slower start, KKT quickly bringing things back in to their favor here. with that beautiful default, that beautiful multi-pronged pressure from the last round. And Mapeasy is not on the site they're used to anymore. They went from A now to the solo hold on to C, which it looks like they realize that the Killjoy's been playing alone and are going to challenge this through the breach utility, updraft, tailwind over, but they are getting shredded by these mollies and stunned on top of it. They make it into backside, which will be exactly what they need, but they are not done searching. Push into Hall, taking out these weapons, and it is a bloodbath led by Machidao. Hall control established. Corner won't be checked, which affords real one. Teammate is there as well, but quickly eliminated, and with a 4th on the round, they want this ace, but it won't come through. It's just Akame there to steal it away. 3rd round on the board, though. They take the lead and bring 2 more ultimates online. I mean, it was a solid rotation last round from the defenders. They were there on time for the retake, not really giving too much time over for the retake attempt or for any post-plant utility to be established. But it was ultimately just Machidao's forward momentum, forward positioning that cut off the rotations. And I mean, they were winning their gunfights with the better weapons. So if it was rifles there, it might have been different. They might have been able to shut him down. But regardless, here now into the next round, once again, we have this kind of split of players, some aggression coming out towards a main. Kind of taking the Wizard GG Easy's page from that book, which is completely kind of, I don't want to say it's left the opposing scrambling since we're only 2 seconds into the round, but Spike is down spawn and it looked like they wanted to head towards A, but don't want to challenge this utility grasp. Instead, playing things slow, waiting potentially for an over-aggression to punish here, and it won't be granted. In fact, the opposite occurring, these members falling back, relinquishing their rebel and root control, which is why you can see this team now pushing out, now starting to occupy the same space, while, you know, Chemixiv Var taking space on to the C site, once again using this utility to potentially sell a fake and force the rotations out, and it works. 2 players already in spawn away from the A site. I'm surprised that they haven't realized the Null Command is coming from there, especially now Ren's on an island, no utility to save them, but their gun will connect, keep them alive now, numbers advantage in their favor, quickly traded out though, as I said, so back to 4-4. Blazestorm's not an option, Null Command expiring, so you get the site, but that is it. Information from 0 Point to confirm 2 more, in addition to Mapeasy, who has fallen or dropped here. The rest of the team, though, trying to get to the site, won't quite work. Paranoia affords Madara 1 and a second as well when they try to swing for the trade. And here it comes. The utility that you see late into the round, saved ultimately by the Null Command, not allowing them to use it. Question is, how does the VAR play the post plant? They use one of those mollies to sell the fake on C, so it's not really an option here. But the fights just aren't going in their favor. The counter trace are too strong. Now that they started on C, they come to A to finish and close out the round, widening their lead to 2. Either way, though, timeout very well needed, I would say, coming out from the defenders here. I mean, we did say that their attack half is their strong suit on this map. We saw them use it as a comeback hour, only granting Wizards GG Easy 2 rounds total. And I mean, if they can get a few more rounds here, I think it was a 6-6 last time, then they'll be in a really good spot. Or even if they get, I would say, you know, at least 4 here, their attack is definitely their stronger side. But for now, 2-4 with that proximity, that possibility slipping away. The timeout is probably a chance to reflect on why these timings are just so barely wrong. Like, you've seen it. They literally, it's a matter of timing. I think it's been 3 times. Once they were on Mound, they fell off. Second, they were on B main, they fell off. And third, they were on A and they fell off. And then as it happened, quite literally, is when that utility, when that execution came through. So they're probably talking about, hey, okay, how can we get more information to get these reads on point since we only have this guy for information? Or how should we just stay where we are until plant comes through, until the true execution comes through? Because I do want to recall, I believe it was their pistol and maybe the follow-up, the 2 rounds that they got, that their retakes were so strong, so collective, especially that pinch between doors. I want to see that play pan out and I want to see them hold it, but that does kind of hinge on them being able to hold B main if it is the aggression from the attackers. For now, though, that aggression will come in the form of this A main occupation. Yet again, instead of 3, it's 4 players fighting here, knowing they're on a save, while Real is instead going to be the solo defender of B main, where these 2 players are consistently lurking. And I'm curious to see if they are going to walk into the judge or if it'll be too late as the commotion is happening on main.
Down
You
A.
can see, even though the Killjoy comes out on top, Spike is in no man's land. The Jet trying to collect it or fight. And the Dig will come through as Madara runs for their life. The rotation, though, as well. Very well timed. And although it is a 2v3, both the Jet and the Sky are so low. So this could go either way, especially if the Raze makes it here on time and is able to find Machado, but they are not giving them the shot.
Spike
Showstopper
planted.
could have been here, but Alarmbot quite literally chasing away. And this round is truly going to hinge on if Sky can get the pick off this information. Since they're the one with the better weapon here, Deagle.
There.
For now, though, not really increasing any control, making sure they play this together, but it won't really work out too much. Madara, like I said, 3v1, and when you're up against full rifles, you have a Deagle and low HP, you can't afford to even get dinked through that wall. And then we're jamming to the finisher music, of course. Regardless, now, Lee is slipping, the prospects of tying things up for this half slipping away. Although I do want to say that I believe it was around the 7th round that they came back from a deficit after the 3-0 that they started out with against Wizards GG Easy. So this team, even though they might start out on the wrong foot, they quickly, once they pinpoint what's going wrong, they follow through and capitalize on it. So it's more of just a waiting game to see when that will occur. And so far, they've kind of gone back to what they were doing for those first 2 rounds. They have the Killjoy still on A, while it's a CB split. And I think they've kind of given up on these 3-person aggression, these 3-person plays. So I'm curious to see if they finally are going to opt for a full 5-person retake and relinquish some of this map control or not. Either way, silence for now, as like I said, they didn't have that initial aggression towards A like they're used to. So they don't have that information that 4 members are walking up there. The only information they have is what KKT wants them to hear, which is this Killjoy using both mollies to fake an entry onto the C site. But, like I said, no real rotations coming through other than this setup for the pinch between doors. And the execution is already fully on the way for A, and the lockdown can in fact be used more as a bait. But like I said, the lurks from Ivar have been on point, as well as now the lockdown out of service, and it's going to be a 5v2 retake. Yes, they have ultimates, but how can you use them without getting traded?
Hawk out. Blinded.
Now,
Last player
they're
standing.
playing divided, which does mean Renz gets 1 there on the long shot, but now as the dark cover falls, Madara in a bad spot, 1v4 required of them, and Machado is hunting with this Blade Storm. They do sound, but doesn't matter if you hit your shots. They will secure a 6, will secure at least a tied scoreline this half, and we'll be looking to expand that in the 4 rounds to follow. I was gonna say, is the Odin the answer there, Machado? Is it really? No, okay, good. They do sell it. Regardless though, I think they definitely should, like, obviously when you're in the game it's a little bit different of what you can observe, since we see the entire map and we see what the plays are. But I feel like at this point they know that the Killjoy, if they are there, if they are dumping those mollies onto the C side, they have never followed through on it as a full attempt. They either use the mollies post plant if the Killjoy is playing with them, or they're trying to use them as a fake. And they've just applied so much pressure to that Killjoy and are trying to play around them that their support for the actual site has been weak. And then, to continue, once they realize and are flooding to the other site, they lose sight of that Killjoy. Which is why I kind of like this play here. Once again, trying to establish that mountain control, trying to take this Killjoy, this pivot point, I would say, out of the equation. And look, in that moment, look how far this Omen has pushed up. And in fact, they're going to get the pinch, but not without Madara falling a huge blow. So that once again, it will be the 4-on-4 retake. BZ alone and surrounded here on the A site. But yet again, not done asserting their dominance. They are trying to flip the map. 2 members trying to act like they've pushed up in drop here. As the flank will come through as well. They're all confined into the site, but not really too worried about it here yet. Furthermore, 0 Point will confirm that there is only 1 here on the top. So many different angles being held. Need for speed will get the site started and follow it up, but they jump over another player on ropes, and just like that, the crossfires come through. And it is 7-2 lead secured, and they are not done. I'm curious to see if we'll see double digits from this team by the end, or if it will, in fact, have some sort of comeback coming out from the dancers at this point. Either way, 5v5 now. And it doesn't look like I said, the Killjoy either lurks or they go with their team, which it looks like they're going to try and fight C here pretty early, while also applying pressure to the A site with the Shrouded Step, with the Guiding Light pretty early out. And Mapeasy, utility essentially nullified there. Alarm bot heard and destroyed on the execute. And I'm curious, we've seen so many fakes trying to be sold by the Killjoy in order to open up another site. This time, though, they have the lockdown online. Still gonna go with the mollies to make sure that they aren't playing these spray angles. But Real this time kind of challenging it from the upper platform position. Although the utility investment is coming through. Spike is headed on to B unless they take the revolving door here, which is open. Null command out. Here comes the execution. Seekers as well, that insult to injury. Real tries to fight it from elbow, but it's just a wave that cannot be stopped. Mapeasy will fall as well. It's going to be a 5v3 retake. And they still have the lockdown if they want to secure this round in the post plan. Regardless, though, like I said, Monstau working to revert map. And although Reds will get one in a second with their utility, that might be exactly what they need, and they force out the insurance policy. It's been cashed in. Lockdown, even the Rolling Thunder, but they haven't cleared Price out of this corner.
Last player
They
standing.
destroy the lockdown, which allows Reds to don't. Oh, that is devastating. Rens had 3 kills on the round, were positioned in season for the clutch if they killed Frights there. But they're too fast to respond after the breach had died, turning away before the kill is finalized. I don't want to say stealing their fate, but at least stealing that round in the ground. And it allows their opponent to pull forward on to 8 here. Allows KKT. I mean, look at this scoreboard. 15-4 from Machidao, while Ren's the other duelist, the closest they are, 11-9. And as we jump into this round, it's going to be a full-out war, a full-out brawl here with full weaponry. Other than the lurk we've seen from the Killjoy time and time again. Picks going in favor, yet again, of the attackers here. Fault lines, but they can't even capitalize off of it because the fragment is there. Just utility after utility, waves and waves of it. Somehow, though, could be a 3v1 after all the carnage. Real. Trying to go for the flank here towards A. Not realizing that they're, in fact, on B. The turn is out of range here, so they might not expect them to be this deep. You can even see that Killjoy watching spawn flank instead of Link. Trailblazers as well might not have enough time to clear this angle. Yeah, it's going the opposite direction. Regardless, now walking past the graveyard of their fallen comrades here in A-Link, they make their way on to B. And even with the Guardian, it's not enough. 9th on the round, 9-2. And
last round before the
I mean, this is the dominance that we saw from them on Ascend, flipped on their head for the Dancers. They're definitely getting their karma here a little bit. I mean, yes, 13-5. That was dominance coming out from KKT against their opponent 9G team, but we thought it would be a lot closer or even favoring based on the aggression, based on the comeback kind of as motivation, as that mentality shift. And as they run out of time, this being the last round, you can still see adaptations coming out from KKT. For example, the Odin deny any frontal aggression out here. Finally, though, look at this. Real has shut down that Killjoy lurk, which I would say has been one of the defining factors for this team. It's literally like they get the lurk kills and then Machida gets the entry kills, and that's the end of the round because you can't retake. Now, though, that they're out of the picture, you can see they've grouped up where that person has died to try and get the trade, to try and get the pressure. Either way, though, nothing gained for them so far, and they still haven't disabled any of this utility on the site.
Not ready yet.
Regardless, though, just in time, Dark Cover comes out. The alarm bot will be there. They swing, and it's good for one. The spray transfer that doesn't come through, and the Killjoy is a lone haul, so they will also be Machida's next victim. Here it is, though, time and time again. And pushing into CT. This time, though, they have learned from their mistakes with the solo push. Guy going with them not only to flash and provide support, but to destroy the Seekers. Showstopper as well, the bait. good for one. Look for a second. Only one knife left, though.
Player standing.
And instead, they are the last one playing. They're not done hunting, though. Without the blades, they don't even need them. They're going for the headshot style, and it's the flow down from platform, the 4K clutch to end things in double digits, 10-2 dominance on this last map for week 1. All right, everyone. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. I said it before. It was 6-6, and they came back pretty strongly. They won all 3 rounds. They won the pistol, the bonus, the anti-eco follow-up, all in their attack half. So this is the time where they could build things back up to a 5-10, which would put the econ at a deficit early out of the gate for this team. However, you can see here already, Kaminsky's Ivar has taken a timeout. They want to make sure that they can approach this right, that they can win these next 2 rounds and secure that match point early so that they don't restart this kind of cycle. They don't restart this fight for the top. That kind of was happening those first few rounds as they clawed their way out of the hole when they finally got this lead on the board. And, I mean, my duo used to say, and still says to me, lose the pistol, win the game. And that's exactly what we've seen out of KKT so far. And like, they haven't dropped a single round since then. You can see that they have literally won 10 rounds in a row, shutting that defensive half down. So now that they're on the other side, now that they are in the dancers' ballet shoes, you could say, it'll be interesting to see if they can perform just as well. Already a different strategy coming out here. They've completely left the B site open, 3 on C, 2 on A. And usually from the opposition, we saw the Killjoy being alone on site while the rest of the pressure was spread across the map. So it'll be interesting to see how this strategy pays out. They're instead not fighting for mountain control. They're fighting for this entrance control, and it'll quickly be relinquished as the efforts come flooding in. So much utility, but matched out still good for 2 before Mapeasy will finally shut them offline. Response, though, just as strong here. Ren's in position, Mapeasy as well, to struggle to close out the escapees trying to flee for their life, trying to wait for the reinforcements to arrive. Although Spike hasn't been planted, see Mapeasy stuck in this corner. Ren's as well. They're now trying to fight together here, trying to fight for a trade.
Last player standing.
They build solo swing Akame, but it's just enough. So much time on the clock, though. They have time to explore. Slaughter here not giving into the double swing. Now that they have the information about where they're playing, they feel safe enough to go back to C, to go for the plant.
Spike
Easy though, holding the wrong angle, thinking they repositioned Hall. But with those ghosts, they are unforgiving with their aim. That'll be a 3rd on the round from Mapeasy. And, I mean, I already said that their dominance would have to start here, and that it has so far securing this pistol. And I do think, obviously, when you're on the attack, you have a little bit more control over the pace of the game. And that's exactly what they're going for. I feel like what's been keeping this team in it and gotten them this far so far is just the fact that the coordination between Renz and Madara, or Mapeasy and Real, is what's kept them afloat. And we saw that just that round. Mapeasy and Renz doing the job, making the space, and then doubling down to close out the round. Here, though, now on their econ round, they've sent this kind of towards a pinch where maybe the Jet will act as a distractor while the real efforts are towards the C site. Otherwise, it looks like the same utility pairings are going to come in. Other than the Sprouted Step as well, up on the box. No, though the right click will land, it's not enough. 2 members now fallen. Achidao's flank, though, like I said, does award them 1. Quickly out of the revolving door. Otherwise, once again, silence for now. And Sprites again caught out Hall by themselves as the Killjoy is late to reinforce. However, look, the Killjoy that is alone does have a deagle, does have clean shots and that spicy aim, so they'll be awarded 1 while they wait for the Omen as well to rotate in late. The issue is they're expecting the aggression from this team, like Ren's here. So that they have to clear out Waterfall and hope they haven't pushed up that deep. But for now, weapons dropping pretty fast. That would be a Vandal and a Spectre for them if they can clear out these closer angles. But the timing is just wrong. Mapeasy, the Ghosted Hand, is like, I can do this in my sleep. They double swing with the Madara. Like I said, coordination starting to build. Faith being restored. 4-10. This is where things start to get dicey. All right. They won 2 rounds last half. They've gotten their 2 rounds this half. Doubled their score. The question now is, do we get a similar shutout from KKT this half? This is where the demise of the first half started. Stringing together 10 rounds in a row as soon as they got rifles, as soon as there really was no economy differential here when they were on the same playing field. And because of that, I think that's why we see, even though the bonus coming out, they have bought 3 rifles on the side of the dancers. They want this lead to continue. They want that 3-0 conversion that I talked about, where you win your bonus conversion. And if they don't, then I think they'll be in a pretty bad spot, because it'll be 11-4, and they should be forced into a save, at least for the majority of their players, once again having to rely on some hero plays. Despite that, though, trap play firmly established here between Rubble. Flashpoint after the KO, but it'll actually trap matched out. Trying to avoid the pain shell, goes right into it.
Spike down.
But Hakame going nuclear off of the fragment and the flashpoint is like, if I have disabled my teammate, I must frag for myself. That's exactly what they do. These teammates quite lining up on Dancer's side, and that's ultimately what gives them the 11-4 that I talked about. I was nervous for a second, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was a beautiful setup there with Matchdown ready to swing off of the flashpoint from Rue, but the paint shell forcing their position, blinding the teammates, so they have to solo swing instead. And I mean, if you hit your shot, solo swing all you want is what I say. Otherwise, then you're just a liability. So, great shot there, and it's definitely now, like I said, interesting economic situation on the opposition here on the side of the dancers. Yes, they have full rifles, but 3 members have light shields, and even probably some utility not purchased, as they're trying to head into the C site. Hasn't failed them yet, but once again, fighting in this dark cover are the defenders here. They're not falling back, they're not over pushing. They're even gonna go for a flash play out of the dark cover that comes up solid at first, 2 apiece, but Frights is here to bring it back, and Madara cannot clutch 3v1.
Match point.
With that, we are on match point. And Akame's 4K the previous round as well has afforded them the null command, a powerful retake tool or a powerful aggression tool if they want to stage a war and to end week 1. Regardless though, not getting ahead of themselves. You can see here, 2 on C, 2 on B, the Killjoy solo holding A, the standard, and it looks like they are, in fact, going to wait for this team to come to them, which I think is the right move. They know at this point, 2 rounds of rifles, this team should be broke. And you can even see them forcing, yet again, only 1 rifle, the rest on the Bulldog squad, minus Rio, who has a Guardian. They have been a Guardian Demon.
You should run.
But they hit the correct site. The Killjoy here, alone. Lockdown is out. They forced them off of the angle, not without some chip damage done on to Gidget. Despite that, though, the Spike is still down in spawn. Omen is late to the party, allowing this flank pressure now to start to build. You have the KO already almost to spawn. You have the Sky trying to come through B. They're probably going to try and take Gidget for speed out of the situation. Trailblazer gets that information, forces Gidget off the angle, forces them into the fight against Akame as well. So suddenly, they definitely are heeding a lot of the pressure. They literally are surrounded and will fall as a result. Fright's now the main center of attention here. They will check the right corner, and that coordination, once again, beautiful. So they're quickly bringing things back here into their favor. Seekers online, and for both teams utilized, definitely making this a worthwhile match point. Clock is ticking. They are into the dark cover. Slaughter with the tap, forcing the hand, and it will work. They just need to kill the diffuser, and they won't even be able to do that, and we are done with the nick of time. 2 seconds to spare. 13-4, more dominant than their semifinals performance on this map on Lotus, making Kursu Tapia, again, sorry about the name if it's wrong, the winners of week 1 of the Blue Skirmish August series. With that, it'll put them at the top of the leaderboard going in to week 2, making it that much easier to fight further for that prize pool. $150 on the line, or pounds, sorry. American, ew. But yeah, I mean, insane performance from both teams. Like I said, matched out, starting out strong, continuing with that fire, and then Akame heating up so late into the round, or so late into the game, I should say, finally kind of being that final nail in the coffin. And I definitely think they'll learn a lot on the opposing side from dancers thanks to this match, but I also think they really just depend so much on these stand-up performances from Sam Madara, from Peasy. And then also Yidja for speed just didn't look that comfortable on the breach compared to the Sova from before. So I'm hoping we can get them back on the info initiator in weeks following. Regardless, though, like I said, that does bring our week 1 coverage to a close. Fear not, though, there are at least, I believe, 3 more weeks to this event. So even if your team got out in the first round or they haven't appeared on the broadcast quite yet, obviously dancers every match today, they can come back. They can be here next time. I know I was looking forward to a team that got cut in the first round. So regardless, thank you all for coming. My name has been Zobia. Our amazing observer, obviously, has been the amazing FaZe, who's in charge of everything. And yeah, we will see you next week for Blue Skirmish August 2023 series.